Hi, my name's Mark. I'm making this video to try and support people with ideas for solutions if they've got a right hand picking hand injury. It could be carpal tunnel, tendinitis, what have you. Very important to say, I'm not a medical practitioner, so this is not medical advice. If you've got an injury, I really strongly suggest that you get it checked out by a medical practitioner, somebody who's qualified first. These are just ideas. This is just my story and what I did to resolve the issues. So I was playing at a gig in the way that I've always played, and with my bass in its usual position, and my finger, this finger, just jammed. It just stopped. It's stuck in that position. I was very fortunate. We were coming up to an eight bar break at the end of a show, so I was able to stretch that out and literally just play the last sort of 2 minutes or so of the song, and then we were done for the night, and it was a bit of a relief. So it's a repetitive strain injury of some sort, and basically the tendons just froze in that position. So it's a really concerning situation. I've been playing for over 30 years. I want to play for another 30 years and another 30 years on the top of that. I don't want to suddenly have to stop playing or start using a pick or something like that, because I'm not a pick player. And it was a massive concern if your fingers suddenly stop working, and it just happens like that and you don't see it coming. But I discovered that what the issue was is the way, my poor technique. So my right hand technique was to basically have my arm resting on top of the bass and then my fingers hooking over onto the strings. So not so bad when you're playing G, but as you're coming up or coming down even, and you're getting to these B's and E's, then I'm getting a real hook in my hand. So a very unnatural position in my arm, and I need to straighten that out. But of course, the only way I had a gig the next day, so I just dropped the bass right down so that I was playing down here. I didn't like it though, and what I also found is that I ended up with a really unnatural position in this hand, so I was really having to struggle with this hand instead. This hand hurt like hell anyway, all through the arm here. I had P's on it, all sorts of things. It didn't really resolve the issue. So I needed to come up with a solution. So I've always played in this position. If I'm resting the bass on my knee, in this position with my arm resting on the bass. So I needed to resolve that because that was the poor technique issue. If you haven't dyed your hair grey yet and you're early in your playing career and you're watching this, please don't do this. This is going to lead to massive problems. If you're already there, I'm aiming my video at you, and I'm going to come up with some solutions. And basically what I found worked for me, playing in a bass in a high position, as I say, dropping it down didn't work. What worked for me was tilting the bass into this position. Now, you've got to be able to do it so that you're not fighting to keep the neck up. Okay, so no, look mum, no hands. So tilting the bass up quite high. The way that I found that I could achieve that was by having a leather strap, a thick leather strap like this, and I added this as well just to give some further resistance, and it's nice, gives an extra bit of support. And all it is a shoulder strap for a lap top carry bag, and it's the shoulder strap bit, and you can buy that separately, and again it's all on the internet. So I've got a leather strap, causes a bit of resistance to keep that in place, keeps all that nicely there so that it's not dropping down. I found that with the thinner sort of fabric material style straps, that they just didn't hold the bass in the right position for me. So tilt the bass right up. The other thing is when I'm practicing without a strap, I rest the bass here on my other leg, so that almost like a classical guitar position, so that I have it tilted up still. By tilting it, I found that I'm not resting my arm on the bass anymore like that. I can bring my elbow round a little bit, and I'm resting my arm onto the bass, but it's in parallel. So it's a nice, neutral, flat position. And I'm not really hooking around. My hand's coming around a little bit, but it's not coming over like this. If you go on YouTube and look at bass players, a lot of them have got this kind of position with their arm resting on the bass, and that's where the problem came for me. So I've got much more of a neutral position, nice flat arm. So yeah, I haven't really plugged in, but if I want to play high, that's where a problem comes. Because of this tilt position, I've found that my forearm of my fretting hand hits the body. If you're not soloing all the time, it's not going to be a major issue. Just drop the bass down, and then you can play like that. And then as you come back into the groove, you just tilt it back. You just tilt it back. If you've got the right strap arrangement, it's going to stay in place. So that works really well. And there's some good solution. That's a really good solution that I've found. Keeping the arm off, you know, really digging in onto the bass. Because when you're doing that, you're stopping blood flow going through to the muscles, to the tendons. When you've got this arm coming right over here as well, you've got all these tendons and veins and everything coming through, and they're getting squeezed into that tight space, and you're not allowing flow. Also, you've got joints running through here, and you've got the tendons running through them, so they're getting squashed and crushed and all the rest of it, and it's just storing up problems for tendinitis, tenosynovitis, carpal tunnel issues, all of that stuff. And they're all nasty stuff that will stop you playing and potentially stop you playing permanently. So I'm strongly advising just to sort of consider your position. So that worked really well for me. Okay, that position. The arm's coming into contact with the bass, but there's no real downward pressure, so it's not causing any problems with blood flow. The other thing that I've done, because I have an existing injury, so this is more for the people who have got an issue, I bought a sports band, stick it on, nice, and it's what it does is it retains heat, and it just keeps a little bit of pressure on there as well, and it just glides over the bass as well, so it actually helps when you're getting all hot and sweaty. You're not sticking to the bass now, so it's actually got lots and lots of uses. It's not very sexy. It's not sexy at all, but it does do a good job of keeping the muscles and the tendons and everything in there nice and warm. And it just, you take it off, you don't feel like you've really worked at all. Another thing that was suggested to me that I've incorporated into that is the use of a arthritic glove. So these you can buy on the internet. You just put in a search for a forearm sports band, put in for an arthritic glove, come in different sizes. The arthritic glove, if you find a really good one, but you get people complaining that the fingers are too short and don't cover the other top knuckles, that's the one to actually buy. Bearing in mind, I'm not looking at this from the perspective of having arthritis. Again, what this does, same as the arm support, it just gives a tiny bit of compression. You don't want that to be super tight, just a tiny bit of compression, keeps everything in, and it reflects heat. It just keeps all of the hand and the arm all nice and warm. And I put them on. They don't look good, admittedly, but I put them on before I start playing, if I've got a gig, before I start the first set. And they stay on and they don't come off until after 10 minutes after the encore, and you're not playing anymore and you're done. The other thing that I do is I take that off, obviously, because personal choice, it's not my thing, and then I do stretches. So I take the arms and I basically, I've not got a bass strapped to me, put your palms together and then bring them in towards your body, and then try to pull them down like that, but trying to keep the palms together all the time, and get it as far. You're not doing yoga, and you don't try and force it too much. Just get a stretch in there. Don't make it uncomfortable. Leave it there for about a minute, and then off you go. Other things that you can do, turn your amp up a little bit. I dig in really hard. Just turn your amp up a little bit, or get a bigger amp if you need to. There you go. A new excuse for buying an amp, bigger amp, more powerful. Turn it up, but back off on the playing a little bit. Don't dig in so hard. You're not trying to drown the bass player band out. You're not trying to be the bass player that everyone can hear and you can't hear anything else. But you want to dial back a little bit the playing. Not too much, because obviously you want a good sound, but just turn up a little bit on the amp. Let the amp do the work, or do some of the work at least. And the other thing that I do is a grip strength trainer, which I didn't bring with me. But 30 seconds squeeze, 30 seconds squeeze in, and then rest for a minute. Repeat that 2 more times, so 3 times altogether, and then the stretch. And I do that every day. And that's pretty much it. And you know, look after your arms. You've got to lift something, maybe use the arm that hasn't got a problem, and those sorts of things. So again, that's not medical, none of this is medical advice. I'm not a medical practitioner, but if it helps, then I'm really pleased about that, because that's the point of this video, is just to try and help people who've got picking hand problems. So I've been Mark, and thanks very much.